name is Amara Wynn, and welcome to the Author Series Between the Margins, where I sit down with indie authors or traditional published authors, not yet, but so far all indie authors, and talk to them about their process, their works, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all things in between. And today we have an interview with an author named S.C. Garrett. And I'm very excited to talk to him today and looking forward to you learning about his book and his upcoming projects. But first, I myself am an indie author. I wrote a book called More Than I Expected, Boop, which you can get on any major book outlet, Amazon, Kindle Unlimited. It is available on, you can purchase it for your Kindle or you can get it for your Kindle Unlimited, either way. But you can also order it from any major book outlet through print copy, and or you can order it from me directly, where I'll send you a book box and I will show a video of me packing it. I also have another podcast with my friend LJ Langdale, where we sit down and discuss the ins and outs of the indie world. So if you're interested, you can check that out. It's called the Indie Dependent Podcast. But let's quit talking about me and let's go straight into today's interview with S.C. Garrett. Hello, my name is Amara Wynn, and I am here with S.C. Garrett. Now, I know virtually nothing about poor SC here, other than that he is a father of four. He is a husband. He uses his local library. He reviews books. He writes books, and he listens to my other podcasts. So, of course, I was like, please come and talk to me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I would say at the outset, feel free to call me Cole. That's the C in SC Garrett.
I wasn't, well, I figured, but I didn't want to call you out if that wasn't what...
I've actually considered like just putting S Cole Garrett on my books. I'm looking at one here, but I don't know. I just like the first two initials last name, but I also realize it's kind of hard to say, right? SC.
SC. I have to slow it down. SC.
I might go back and redo them at some point and just put Cole Garrett or S Cole Garrett. I like my first initial though. I'm not ashamed of it. So.
Now I need to know what the S stands for.
Oh, it's Steven. Now you can go look me up and find my social security number.
I can stalk you properly. Here comes LinkedIn.
No, Steven's my dad's name, so I went by my middle name, which is Cole. People call me Cole.
Oh, okay. Well, I will call you Cole. I won't call you Steve. Is it Steven with a V or Steven with a PH? That is a big difference. Okay.
It is a difference.
Steven with a PH is a good Steven. Steven with a V is never good.
You'd be shocked how many people trip over that. Like, is it Stefan? It's like, no, it never is.
It's never been Stefan.
Like, it would be an F.
I had a friend named Stefan, and it was Stefan, and no one could pronounce that either.
That even spells it out for him. You think that
that's exactly like phonetically, just read it.
Exactly.
All right. So I don't know anything about you other than those things. So tell us about you, sir.
Oh gosh. Well, aside from having a family, I live in Florida. I embrace it fully, right? I wear Hawaiian shirts a lot. We go to the beach. We sweat, because it's hot here.
It is hot.
Before that, we lived in Idaho in the mountains, and it was cold and snowy, and it got old.
No,
but I was born and raised.
Old. It never gets old. Snow is amazing.
No, snow literally gets dirty after like 2 days. It gets old.
I'm from Chicago. I get it. It's like it's pretty that first time it lays, and then the snowplow comes and pushes it all into your yard, and then it's just slush, gray slush. I miss it.
Yeah, the driving was treacherous, but I liked it for a little bit. But what I didn't get used to ever up there was the darkness. It gets dark in the winter at like 3 p.m. Here it's just light all the time. But before that, I grew up in Texas, and that's where some of the Western vibes come from, right? I was born there. I lived there until I was 30, and I don't sound like it because neither of my parents are from there. But I lived there most of my life, and then we moved to Idaho, and now we're here and probably plant roots. Our kids are of the age where we kind of want to be where they're going to be, probably not move around too much anymore. So
I can't leave my house ever because my mortgage payments are so low. I'm stuck here for life, whether I want to be or not.
I might be looking for a lower one at some point. Maybe the refinancing will happen soon.
Ooh.
But so like I said, I grew up in Texas, so Western is an appeal to me. That's why you'll see it in some of my writing, and I've always been a nerd. I love Star Wars, and we've always played all the trading card games, and not Star Trek. I know I'm gonna get roasted for not liking Star Trek, but what was the other one? Oh, Harry Potter. Anything fantasy and sci-fi. We grew up loving that sort of stuff. So I put them together in a book, a series of books actually.
Did you play
That's kind of
Magic
what
the Gathering?
I did. I have played. I still have a lot of my stuff from the beginning, and those things are really valuable right now. But
They are.
most people play a format that is super boring called Commander, and I like it, but and it's a social event, but it's also really boring. So me and my middle daughter, we play the Disney card game that's out right now, the Lorcana, and it's fun. It's it, it's obviously in Florida a bigger deal than it was maybe back in Idaho, right? Because
Right.
Disney's only a couple hours away. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. We've moved
Did,
around a little bit. I have a family.
are you a D&D player?
No, my son likes to play, and I don't love it. I have a good imagination, right? But I don't mind that he does it. But I don't. I sit there and I'm thinking, I want to like, if I'm gonna play a game, I want there to be like, I want to like push a button, or I want to kill something. I like video games too, but I don't have time to play them very much. But like, I want there to be a goal. I want there to be like an ending. D&D struggles with ending. And I don't know. It's just not. I want it to be more hands on. And I know they have the little figures and the maps and all that, but I don't know. I'm more of a like a Metroid or a Legend of Zelda that you hack and slash. Kill the boss.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was never good. I'm still not good at like first person shooters. I'm the one that plays with other friends online and then all I'm doing is just running into a wall because I can't figure out. And they're like, just follow the map. And I'm like, what map? And they're like, the circle in the
The,
corner, just
the
follow
little
the
one.
red dot. I was like, I am. They're like, no, Amara, you're just running into a wall. I can't figure it out, but I am old school video game. I was working at a
Mm-hmm.
video game store when the PlayStation first came out and the N64 first came out.
Mm-hmm.
I am a fan, but it's gotten too advanced for me. I think I'm just old.
Yeah, I'm probably not as young as I look, but yeah, I remember a lot of those uh, early games, and I remember our minds were blown when the Nintendo 64 came out. Right, like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. And my son will play like on the Switch. They'll have like retro. You can go back and play the original games, and I'm like, this is awful. They have no idea how cool that was when it came out, and
Back in the
now it's like
day.
it's total trash. But it was, I don't know. It's
Well,
a lot different now.
I had an Atari, so I'm that old. And
We
we played
we did too.
Pong.
hmm The first thing we had was an Atari for sure.
Okay, you can't be that old. How old are you?
41.
Oh, you're such a baby.
It
Just a
depends on the
baby.
year. Like I'm like there was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I had to start thinking about that question when people asked, like, "How old are you?" I'm like, used to know like that,
I don't. I have to ask my husband every year. I'm like, am I 47, 48? How old am I? And he's like, oh gosh, honey. And because I don't know. I know exactly how old he is because it's kind of icky because he's in his 50s. And I'm like, that, ugh. And we've been together for so long now, I shouldn't be freaked out by it. But I always tell him it's gross that he's in his 50s because I'm married to an old man.
We've been married for 16 years now, so
And 4 kids. Y'all are tired.
yeah, yeah. Well, You might find out I'm reckless with my sleep, so it's a problem. Maybe later in life I'll deal with.
Sleep? What's sleep?
How am I supposed to write books, edit books, and read books, and pay attention to all my kids without skipping on some sleep?
I know. And I'm actually kind of impressed that you read so much given that you write because I find it hard. I find, and I feel terrible about saying this, the only books that I'm reading lately are the books that I'm interviewing authors for.
Well, hopefully there's some good ones in there, but
So far, every one of them has been different, but really good in their own way. Very different than there's a lot of books I would never normally had read. For example, I probably never would have picked yours up, not because it looks bad. It's just not my genre. But I can say that I finished the first one last night and I really liked it. I was surprised.
well, thank you. I liked the second half of it.
Oh,
um, it got better as it went. There were some people on Instagram, I guess Instagram buddies, that they did a buddy read of it, and I did it at the same time on the side for two reasons. I kind of wanted to experience what they were, and I was also finishing writing the fourth one, and I knew there were some callbacks I needed to make, so I needed to reread the first one anyway. Um, and I went back through it, and it's like, man, this feels like such a debut novel. I know that I repeated myself. I wrote it in a way. I don't know why I told myself this. I wrote it in a way that you could put it down at any given chapter, and you could put it down for a day or two, and then you could come back, and you might. I thought, well, I might need to remind them about this, so it got repetitive towards the end, right?
Okay,
And
it did
then
a little bit.
and I know that I'm not totally ignorant of the fact, but I thought, well, maybe somebody might need a reminder at any given point. Well, I reminded myself too much, and when I read it, I was like, well, it's too late to change it.
Okay, I didn't notice it really until I got closer to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so this is the kind of book that my husband would read if he knew how to read. But I'm not sure that he can because he still hasn't read my book all the way through. So,
oh boy,
yeah, still a point of contention. But I think he would really enjoy this one. I'm really excited about the cover for the one that you sent us separately. I thought I was special, by the way. I thought I was the only one who was getting that. So I was a little pissy.
I sent it to several people because I wanted feedback from a lot of people. And I tell you this, I don't know who I sent it to first, if it was you or him.
Just say
I can
me.
go back and look, but
just say me.
I'm like 99.9% sure it was you.
Okay, let's just say it was me then. Sure. Let me have that.
We'll say it was you. It's funny that you said that your husband doesn't read your book. My wife has gotten like 3 or 4 chapters into mine. It's strange. My mom has read them all. I know that sounds really like silly, like, well, my mom reads it. But
no, it doesn't sound silly.
Yeah, my wife, she's just she goes, well, it's not my genre. It's like, what? Okay.
Okay, well, it's not my genre either, wifey, but I still read it.
Yeah. And it doesn't bother me that much, to be honest.
It bothers the shit out of me.
I will say that I wish I had somebody to talk to about it, right?
Now like, you do.
Well, I actually do want to talk to you about a few things in the first one, because I thought I put some really clever things in there, and like nobody said anything, or like, have they noticed? Like, I don't even think my mom noticed. Like, okay, for example, in the first chapter, well, Blue Thom, it's hard T, by the way, which I thought was obvious, but people still ask. He's a drifter. Right? So he wanders from town to town. He doesn't really have a place because he's half alien. And the first chapter of the book is purposely a little bit scatterbrained. So he sits there and he prods the fire. He lays down. He looks up at the stars. He flips his gun over his hand, and then he kind of goes back to the stars. He's like, his mind is not settled. And in the first chapter, I specifically made it that way. Like, I set up the book that way to kind of mirror his personality. And I haven't talked to anybody that like realized that. And
okay. I got it right out the gate because I did the same thing in mine. So I recognized it. I was like,
I do need to read your book, and I promise you I will. Like, I can read. Part of the reason I'm able to read and write is because I do read quickly. But another thing about the book is like, and I don't think this is much of a spoiler, but he fights the horrible monster, right? I'm trying to make sure I try to just stay to whatever's in the prompt on the back, or the blurb on the back. He fights the monster. He always ends up on his back. But the last time he fights it, he's still standing. And
yes, so I noticed that too.
There's teeny things like that I want to talk to. Like, so you did see it?
I did see that.
No, I don't have anybody to talk to about it.
Well, now you do, and I will read the rest of them because and that's why I'm getting mad at you people who are writing series, forcing me to read the next ones because I need to know what happens. And I saw there was a 4th coming out. I saw that on your Instagram page, and I was like, damn, man.
Yep, it's right here.
You trash
8-Man
monster.
Road. Oh, okay, so my wife does contribute, though. We were talking about the title for this book, and I was like, I want something Western-y. And I'm sorry for getting off topic, but
you're fine.
That's how my mind works. Yeah, I said a something, and we walk our dog every day, and she goes, because I gave her a few examples, she goes, 8-Man Road. I was like, huh, that's really good. Now, spoiler alert, one of them's not a dude, but like human.
Human. It's all good.
8-man team, whatever. But and I was trying to sell it to my mom. She goes, well, that doesn't make any sense with how the end of the 3rd book was. I was like, oh, well, can I just tell you the plot real quick, Mom? She goes, fine, because she doesn't want to know. She wants to experience it all firsthand. So I gave her the really light and dusted version, And she's like, okay, I'll take that one. But it sounds Western. It sounds somewhat masculine, right? And it's just, and I looked it up, and there's no other book called that. I do that, by the way. I look and I say, is there any other book named that? Maybe The Desert Rose. I can't remember. Maybe probably Keystone, but this one for sure. And certainly the other one that I sent you about my work in progress. But
which I'm excited about.
And the other thing was I tried to make something like Alien on all the covers, right? And I'll just show you. Like the gun it's bluish, right? I don't know if you can tell. And it doesn't have very many markings on it. And that's described in the book. And I tried to use the alien thing about the cover in it. So like when there's a break in time, I don't know if this is worth showing on a podcast, but like I put these little guns in here.
Yeah, those are in your ebook version too.
Yeah, normally they'd have like this star thing. And so I thought, I'm just going to do it. I don't care what anybody thinks. And that's why one of the reasons I like to do the independent version of authoring is because somebody might try to talk me out of it if I tried to do like a traditional publishing. Oh, why would you do that? It's like, I don't know, because I want to.
Because you can.
Yeah.
Because you can. So,
and then like, one more thing, I'll let you talk.
Sure.
The second one has the rose on it, which looks funky anyway, but it also has like this moonbeam sort of thing going on here.
Yeah, I see that.
And it's kind of a call to like, alien abduction. There's no alien abduction here, but like it definitely has something alien about it. And I just thought I had it without that, and then it just occurred to me again when we were walking. I was like, I'm gonna put a moonbeam on it. Boom, done.
Close Encounters.
If you liked the first one at all, I think you'll really like the second one.
I did like the first one. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think I was going to. I'm such an ass. I didn't think I was going. Western is not really my vibe. It's just never been, which is weird because I watch Yellowstone, but I only really watch Yellowstone because I like to watch Rip Wheeler. I could really care less about the rest of it. I just want to see him. But my dad always watched Westerns. He always read Westerns. It was just never my thing. So I was concerned when I was reading the blurb about it. And then I saw like a review, I think, where it was talking, because I like to go into it not knowing a whole bunch. It makes it easier that way. And then I saw that it was human and alien. And then I saw I think it was a reviewer who said that it was half human, half alien, and all sorts bent out of shape. And I was like, okay. I'm gonna give it a go. And I think seeing that review before I started reading it made it easier for me to kind of recognize in that first little bit that it's being written how he feels, and from his like that scattered brained. I kept thinking that bent out of shape thing. So I was like, maybe he's doing what I did. Maybe he's kind of doing. So I just ran with it that way. Now, there's plenty of people who don't know what this book is, and we want to tell them. It is a sci-fi Western, right?
Yeah. And that's how I classified it. But you have to put those notions aside because it really just borrows from both, right? At its core, it's a book about acceptance.
Right.
And it just happens to be in the 1870s, which, like, in America, that's like by default Western.
True.
And then the sci-fi element, I specifically put the element in there and removed it so that it would just be what's left over. It's what's the term? Speculative history or speculative fiction, right? Where it was what if this had happened?
What could have been?
What could have been?
So you compared it to like The Dark Tower meets Firefly.
Yeah, I threw that out there because everybody puts comps, right? And I was like, I reread The Dark Tower recently too. I have to put that review up. It's not as dark as The Dark Tower.
See, and I was thinking, I have. So I was like, when I finished reading it last night, I don't know if that would have been the book that I would have used.
It just happens to be, well, it's magic in The Dark Tower, not science fiction, I guess. But I mean, it's comparable because it's a guy that's basically on his own, and there's a young man in there, right? There's a young man in the town of Redemption. He meets a young man in the Dark Tower, and just to talk about the first book, it's in that vibe, right? And even though that's dystopian, thousands of years in the future or whatever it is, and this is only a couple hundred years ago, it kind of feels lonesome and gritty. But Stephen King obviously writes much darker versions of things.
Yes,
there's some lines in that book where I was like, oh. I had to say like when the kid I don't want to say anything about Dark Tower, but Yeah, there's some gruesome parts, and I wanted it to be not necessarily a YA fiction, this book, but something that if somebody younger wanted to pick it up, if one of my kids right now wanted to pick it up, which they won't, but if they wanted to, I wouldn't put anything totally offensive in there, right? Not to avoid offense, but like a clean version. So like in the second book, there's a romance, a romantic interest, right? But it would be at
Is
best
that
closed.
Rose Chen?
Rose, right? See, you already knew. I
I
tried
did.
to plant it in there. See, I like. You're a good reader because you dialed into what I thought that I was being too subtle on. Also, it's in New Mexico, which is obviously where Area 51 is, or it's where it starts anyway. But yeah, the second one has a love interest, but it's closed door, so anybody could pick it up. It's not going to fall into like a mature only category. I mean, I did that on purpose.
That's smart.
Um,
That's
I
smart.
also purposely wrote. Well, I had the first and second one written, and the third one almost done before I published the first one. So they're published pretty close together, and I did not write it that fast. But I knew, just like you would if you were starting up a YouTube or a Spotify or anything, you want to have like two things available so they can finish one and go to the next. And so I did that on purpose. Um, and so the first one, you can tell it was definitely more amateur than they get so much better. If you enjoyed the first one, then you'll like the next one. I might have welled up a little bit on the second and third one. Even going back and rereading it, I was like, oh, you know what, that was pretty good. But
I refuse to go back and
reasons.
reread mine because I'm terrified. Mostly because I read it so many times when I was writing it and then editing it, and then when I gave it to my editor and I had to go back and make changes, I was like, I'm never gonna read this again. I'm never gonna read this again, and I haven't read it. I read it the month after it came out. I gave it some time, gave it a month, and I sat back and I was like, I could have done better.
Well, good, and that's natural. That just falls in line with everything else you guys have put on your podcast. You'll say things on there, and I'm like, huh, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
You know, or you guys will say like, oh, I get bombarded with like Zeely ads or something. I'm like, yeah, that's totally me. Or your spouse doesn't read your book. It's like you guys hit on everything like as I'm thinking it. So that's why I listen to it.
Well, you and other people, I'm very excited about that. That makes me happy. But I and we did give you a huge shout out this week because we were talking about your book cover that you sent to me first. And I do want to I do want to talk about that. But I do think we need to actually, I know you don't want to get bogged down in book one, but book one is the one that I read. So I do want to hear some about the other two and going into your fourth one. So Tom, okay, Tom just wants to be left alone. Just leave Tom alone. Just leave Tom alone.
Originally, but he finds a purpose, right?
Yes, he does. But he keeps getting stuck in this whole I don't know. I feel bad for Tom because Tom in the beginning of let me stop. I don't want to give out too much. Tell us the premise of the book.
Okay.
Or the series as a whole.
Okay. So yeah, I guess it is the premise of the whole series. And I don't know how I came up with this. Probably a dog walking thing. What happened was in around 1830, this alien race came to Earth in the American frontier, and they were scientists. I don't think you find that out yet, but we'll call them scientists, and they are studying things. Something goes wrong, and they gotta skedaddle, to use era appropriate terms, right? They had to skedaddle, so they had to get out of there, and they left. But among their studies, some of them reproduced, so they had to have children with humans. So there are more than, and they talk about that in this book. There are a few left behind, half alien, half humans, and Blue Thom is one of them. And his father was one of the ones that was, I don't want to say he was a leader, but he definitely discovered something that other people didn't. So I won't give that away. But he had to go, and I made that clear that, and his mom told him all the time, he didn't want to go, but he had to. And I don't keep that secret forever. You find out a lot of stuff in book three. Book three was so cathartic to write because I had got a lot of stuff out that I've been meaning to tell people. Anyway, the premise was the aliens came in 1830. They left in 1840 for nobody really knows why. Okay? And so there's these people left behind. He's traveling the frontier. He doesn't really have a place, but he finds out about this. He stumbles through very serendipitously this town called Redemption. And there are other people that have had dealings with these monsters. And he shows up and they're like, hey, wait a minute, you know how to deal with this, and he's like, oh, okay, well, he's kind of reluctant. He's sort of a reluctant hero.
He's definitely a reluctant hero. He's getting
He
pulled
wants to
into like
go.
different crises.
It'd be easier to leave, but why would you do that? Because you might have the only way to stop these things. And so, book one is about, like I said, at the core, it's about accepting. This is important. Accepting what he is. Right? He's a half alien. He's a half human. The second book is about accepting who he is. So there's a distinct difference, and I think you can kind of fill in the blanks there, right? There is a love interest, but that's not what it's all about. But they're continuing their journey. And then the third one, and then the fourth one, he can't do it alone, right? So they try, and he realizes that. So as time progresses, these monsters get worse and worse because they feed on fear, and so the longer they've been there, the worse and the bigger and the nastier and the more like solid they become. They're described as pretty ethereal in this book, right? It's not just a zombie flesh and blood monster. It's something worse than that, and then he has the eyes to be able to see it and fight it. But over time, as they grow and mature, the monsters, they become more difficult to deal with, and he can't do it himself all on his own. So he has to get help, and so that's where the third book and the fourth book come in. And then it will be. I've already got it outlined. The fifth one will be the end. So
Okay, so Keystone is the third one, right?
Keystone is the third one.
That's the one that we're going to get a lot of the answers to.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's this gal here. So she's the sort of ghostly looking, standing in front of the door. The Keystone is a place.
And yeah, I figured with the name Keystone, that must be like, this is where we're going to get some answers, because I was left with some questions.
Yes, of course.
Which I find rude, but you were clever to have them put out back to back. I was wondering when I saw how quickly they were published behind each other, how long you'd actually been working on these.
A couple years. It's hard to say because I had the inkling of it maybe 2 years ago, and I didn't know that I solved my writing problem. If you don't mind me taking a little sidetrack.
Go ahead.
I wrote a couple books about 15 years ago before we had this gaggle of children, right? I wrote a book and I started writing it. And I got like 60,000 words into it, and I didn't know how to end it. It was a boy, and he rode the bus to school, and he didn't know, but the bus driver was his long lost dad, and blah blah blah. Apparently, I have daddy issues. So the guy was, and I got like a really long ways into it, and I just didn't know what to do to finish it. It felt like a dud. And then I went and I wrote a separate book about free will. So this was nonfiction, which I really loved because I'm an intellectual at heart, but I really like fiction because it's a way to escape, obviously, this world. But so I wrote this book about free will, and I got, again, pretty good ways into it, maybe a half or three quarters, and I just didn't know like how to tie it all together. Well, I knew I wanted to make another book, and I knew I wanted it to be a Western, and I wanted the sci-fi version of it, and I solved my problem by figuring out how I wanted it to end before I started putting, I was going to say pen to paper, but fingers to the keyboard. And so like I sat down and I did what I didn't do the first time, because I didn't go to school for writing. I went to school for marketing, and I don't even use that, like anybody in their degree. I work on computers. And so I wrote down and I plotted out the whole thing. We did. I was like, you know what? I wanted it to be 3. And I was like, no, there's 5 probably separate stories here. And my wife even helped too. She like injected a few subplots into it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's really, really good. So we wrote it all down, and I knew where it was going to go. And then I started writing, and I was like, okay, that's how this one's going to end. That's how this one's going to end. That's how they're going to tie together. And like, I had an outline. And that sounds so dumb, right? Well, you didn't outline your first couple of books? No, I didn't. And I didn't. And now they're long gone. They're on a flash drive, probably in a dump somewhere, which is really sad.
That is sad.
But now we have the cloud, so that's not even possible anymore. So these are all on my little Google cloud, and thank goodness, because I know how to lose a flash drive. But anyway, I didn't know how to end a book. This time I sat down and did it right. I wrote the start and end to all of them, and I was actually able to finish. And so that's where my marketing brain kicked in. I told you I went to school for marketing. I was like, no, I need 2, and I need to be well into the third one. And so after all that time, and I had this much ready, and then I was like, let's do number one, let's do number two, and then now I realized it's a lot of work to market your book. So four has taken a lot longer. Like I do write pretty quickly. I can do about a chapter a day if I sit down and do it. So if a book is 30 chapters, it might take me 6 weeks, because you don't do it every day. But this one's done. We're editing it, and I want to have the fifth one done by the end of the year, and I think that's achievable. That's my life goal, to get this one done by the end of the year.
I will say that you were not the only one. With the very first book that I saw all the way to the end, I got all the way to the end and I didn't know how to end it, so I didn't. I let somebody.
We're the same people. You just live over there and I live over here.
I gave it to a friend of mine and I was like, read this, tell me if it's any good. And he did. And then I gave it to another friend of mine. They're like, okay, well, how does it end? And I was like, I don't know.
Oh, you're braver than me. I don't think I would have given the partial one out.
I was convinced I was going to finish it, but a part of me knew that if I had finished it, I was going to mess it up. And what I thought I wanted, but what I thought was a better option, I just didn't know how to tie it all together. Very similar. Wasn't sure how to tie it all together. Gave up the whole idea, trashed the whole thing, and then made two friends really angry, wanting to know how come I didn't bother finishing it for them. So one of them boycotted my book for this because he was like, I'm not going to read that if I have to find out that you didn't finish it. And I'm like, I did. I finished it. It's published. It's finished. But I hurt him so bad because he was really invested. And I remember going back and reading it thinking, I wrote this? That's not bad. Should have finished that one. And then this one, I went back and reread it and went, So maybe I should have stuck with the first one, but even now, I'm not sure how I would have wrapped it up. It's also on a flash drive somewhere. Who knows where now? I do have a printed copy somewhere in our house, but yeah, wow, that's old school. It might even be on like a floppy disk. Those 3.5 floppy disk. Gosh, yes. I am old.
The ones that actually aren't floppy, yeah.
That aren't floppy at all, yeah. Although I do
played
remember
Oregon Trail when I was little. We played Oregon Trail on those big 9-inch ones or 5-inch.
Yeah, 5-inch ones. I learned how to type by using Pause, the game Pause, on a 5-inch floppy disk that you would type because the cat would hit the key first. And I'm like, wow, nobody's ever heard of Pause. Cool, just me. Awesome. I'm guessing you haven't because I'm older than you.
All right. No, I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what Pause is.
Oh, gosh, you people make me feel bad. When I was reading your book, I felt like I was watching a movie. It played out in my head like a movie. I prefer that when I'm reading a book. When you were writing it, were you seeing it as a movie in your head?
Oh, that's how it has to come out. Like, yes, 100%. When I'm writing it, it's like, if I were watching it, how would I describe it? Basically, there's what they say. I like writing the dialogue, but there's also like, you try to smells, you try to lay out like the kind of the landscape, try to describe a little bit about almost every room or street they walk into, just like if you were in a movie. If you were watching a movie, he'd go into another room and you would probably notice as a viewer, like, oh, there's 3 chairs over there, or there's a stack of, there's a shelf with some flour and coffee on it, or whatever. I'm trying to imagine what was in these books. But every time the scene changes, I try to make sure that there's something in there to visually cue you in to where they are. And then sometimes I think smells good too.
A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
I think that's weird. I don't know how to do it any other way.
I haven't read a ton of indie authors. So send me your book. You might be the first. You might be. Anyway. But yeah, I don't know. Like I definitely read a lot of like mass published work, which has been refined, and I'm sure they have editors that say, make sure you add details here and describe this there, and I'm sure they do. So, but
it's a lot of the ones that are very dialogue heavy, that they don't really concentrate on the surroundings. And I get why, because it's very character driven, and I understand, but I also would like to know, because I want to envision it in my head, I need to know what they're doing, where they're at, what does it look like, so I can see it in my head. Otherwise, when I'm picked, it's like when people don't describe what their character looks like, and then they end up making a movie out of it, and then it is not at all what I had imagined through the entire thing.
Yes, I did make character profiles. That was something else I didn't do in the first, 15 years ago. This time I sat down to this is this person, this is what they look like, and you could refer to it, which is nice. I even plugged my character profiles into whatever the Google one is, Gemini. Like, can you make me a picture of this? I posted one or two on my Instagram. I said, oh, okay. It takes like 10 tries for it to make something that you actually thought. I'm like,
that's even close.
But I will say this: it's helpful because it's like you might have missed something. Like it spits out something based on what you put in there. You're like, oh, well, no, I imagine them, taller or skinny, or not. And it's like, oh, okay, well, let me go update. It's actually a pretty good like feedback mechanism if you use it as a tool.
You're gonna have people get angry at you for that.
They can get angry at me for that. I don't even care. I know what I did. So
as I said on Monday, I'm so tired of people being angry about things that are not going anywhere. It's going to be here. Let's just deal with it.
Just deal with it. You're going to like something or you're not. So my wife, I read one of the books that she gave me, the Crown one, Crown Me Dead, and it's pretty popular, I guess. And I read it and I thought, I didn't say this on my video, but I'll just say it on yours. I think it was written by AI. I really do. And I was reading it, and what are the giveaways, right? Like they describe something. They'll describe something the same way. And she would rest her palm on a door and it would sigh open. It was a heavy oak door and it would sigh open. Like this was like medieval kind of. And then later in like the next chapter, this door sighed open. When she blah, blah, blah. Like either they're not very creative in how they open doors, or they had somebody else write it for them. The ways they would describe people, the way the people would describe how they were thinking in the book. I don't know. I don't think they wrote it. I'll just say it.
I always have that fear because all the AI tells that are now tells are things that I've been doing since before there was AI. And I don't want to get rid of those habits that I've learned. Like, I mean, we were always taught to write in threes, and now you can't do that. You can't list things in threes. And I'm just at the point where I'm like, whatever, I don't care anymore. I don't care.
You can use dashes. I mean, this is so bad. M dashes. I was trying to think what it was called. Use them. They're better than commas, honestly.
It's just an aside. It's a great pause era. Like this is important. Let's pause. And I love them. I am actively trying to not use them, and it's been hard.
If I showed you my edits on my manuscript, you could see I scratch out like half of them because I'm like, well, I don't really care what people think, but also like I don't want to deal with it. I do and I don't. In my core life, as a real, in my day-to-day, people who know me, they know that I don't care what people think about me. But like on the flip side, at the end of the day, I do also want to sell a book. And the less I have to deal with somebody accusing me of something, then probably the better.
It's going to be nonstop. It doesn't matter. People are going to accuse you. This is why I keep every draft. This is why I keep everything just in case. And it's also why it takes me forever because I really do work. I wish I could put things out that quickly. I can't. I want to. I wish I had been smart like you and had the first book out before I held on to it and then published them back to back, but I didn't. So now people are like, is there going to be another one? I'm like, yeah, sometime. Whenever it gets done. But
I keep all my drafts, like the box. I buy paper by the box, of course, so I can print them out. And the box that came in has a bunch of these in it.
That's smart.
I kept them. I thought maybe a kid might want to look at that one day when I die, or throw it in the trash themselves. I don't know.
When you make lots and lots of money and you're a big name author, then you can go through and sign them, and then people can auction them off for money.
A whole chapter or something like that. Sure.
Yeah.
I thought about making like a fake post of like Blue Thom is going to be a series, and it'll be a carousel where you scroll over and it's like, well, help me make this happen,
See,
I can see it being a cool series. But
you should be great at marketing your book. You should be helping us figure out how to market your book because I am terrible at it.
I have a chromosome problem. I don't have the female ones, so it's really hard to grow an Instagram as a male. I know that sounds defeatist, but it's true. I can't wear a shirt in a cold room and get a bunch of followers, right? So I have to work extra hard at it.
As I sit here with a blanket in my
You know what I'm talking about, though.
I do.
I show my wife posts every once in a while. I was like, that's why it's so much easier. But again, that's not a defeatist attitude. It's just reality, and
it is reality.
It makes me have to work harder, which is tough. And followers are hard to come by, But that's another thing that I just don't care about. I'm glad they're there, I want people to follow along. That way, that when I do put something out, I've got some people ready to go, ready to read it. So it is important in a way, mostly in the eventually selling books way. I don't do it just for fun, right? I do want to sell some books.
Are you hoping that this is going to be your lifelong career?
Oh, I would love to just write.
Oh, gosh, me too.
I work in IT, and which by nature means I work with a lot of stupid people. Or I have to tell people dumb things like, "Well, did you reboot it?" But I
unplug it and plug it back in.
That's really oversimplifying it. I really work with like databases and hacking them, and if you had to put a name on my job, maybe data forensics. Like something went wrong, when, where, and how. Like, okay, well, I'll go spend 3 days finding that out.
That sounds fancy.
It's super nerdy. It's not as fancy as it sounds.
It's got to be better. I worked in nonprofit forever, so as much as I loved my job, I am enjoying this so much. But I spend more time, I find, because I ghostwrite, writing for other people more than I do for myself.
So that would probably be discouraging. I could see why it'd be tough for you to write your own, because you're doing it all day anyway. It's like when my mom calls and wants help with her cell phone or her computer. I'm like, just spend all day doing this. I don't want to do it more.
So. Yeah, this when my husband and I worked in healthcare. Is how we met. Was working in healthcare, and there was nothing worse than somebody calling and being like, "Hey, can I ask you a question or send you a photo?" No.
Photo.
I've been doing this for 12 hours today. This is my 7th day. No, I don't need to see a photo of the boil on your ass, but thank you. Always crazy stuff. Now, are you a Western fan? That just seems so random.
As far as like,
I mean, yeah,
enough of one, right? Like, yeah, I like Western movies. I like science fiction and Western. That's why I do both of them.
Westerns.
I read partway through Larry McMurtry's work, and it's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Plus, it's very Texas, and like I said, I'm from Texas.
Oh, that's right. You're from Texas. That's right.
And as far as movies, like I like more of an adventure-y type of Western. Something that most people would recognize that might not think of a Western is like Indiana Jones. It's very Western-like, right? He has that. There's a lot of dry Yeah. Well, he goes to the desert, okay? I remember there being a desert in one of those movies.
There was a desert. I am an Indiana Jones fanatic, so yeah.
So it's not a Western, but it has those vibes,
It does have the vibes. Adventure. That is more adventure. That's a big difference from Western. I guess I just think Western and I think Larry McMurtry.
So squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares, right? Most adventure books, a Western doesn't have to be an adventure, but that is, right? I'm sure there was a proper analogy in there, but maybe I didn't make it. Like, not all adventures are Westerns, but all Westerns are adventures, right? I guess
that's true. That's true. You're not wrong.
I don't know. It struck me. It's mostly heritage. I like the tone. I like the grit. I like the masculinity of Westerns for the most part.
Because you're a man's man?
I guess. Sure.
Okay, why not? So poor Tom, who wants to be left alone. Please just leave me alone. Yeah. Sorry. Keeps getting pulled into saving people, whether he wants to or not. Why did we think, and by we, I mean you, what drew you to making such a compelling, I don't want to say anti-hero, reluctant hero? You said that earlier. Why was this the vibe that we decided to go? I mean, he just wants to be left alone.
Well, I mean, if you want a full hero arc, like the Hands of the Clock, how he starts out one way and there's ups and downs and he comes out different in the end. If he comes out different in the end as a better person, what does he learn? Well, he learns that, like I said, the first one is about what he is, right? He learns that it's okay to be half alien. And the second one, it learns that he's okay to be who he is in his personality. Like there's just growth. And if you start out as a drifter, you have a lot of room to grow as a character. If he was already a rootin' tootin' cowboy, how do we improve ourselves?
There's a snake in my boot. I don't know why that is.
I mean, I would say Woody is a Western fan or a Western star.
He's definitely a Western star. We just watched Toy Story again yesterday, and now it's in my head. So, okay. What's the big? I know you told us that there's the difference between the first one and the second one is him learning to accept that he's half alien, and then the second one is about accepting more who he is. What are the other big changes that I can expect? I don't care about everybody else, that I can expect in the next book, because I'll be starting that soon, and I'm already reading somebody else's series, so y'all are making me mad. So what's going to be the big change?
I watched your last one. You're talking about that lady.
Yes.
I can't remember her name. Yeah, I was piqued. My interest was piqued when I watched that one. In the third one, how do we do this without spoiling?
I know. This is where I'm stuck, because I want to ask questions, but I know they're probably coming anyway. The answers are coming.
So there's a lot that needs to be talked about. And so in the second one, they hunt down a lot more of the caches. In the first one, he found one in the desert. A lot of people found it, and that's kind of why that town was there. There was something wrong, and the monsters were there, and the railroad stopped there, and they found effectively a cache as like a treasure chest, but it's only, he has the key to open it. And he pulls out, that's where his father's journal is, and that gives him a map of where to go find the rest of these treasures. He doesn't really know why yet, though, but he knows, I gotta go figure out what's in all these. They're there for a reason. He gave me a map for a reason. He gave me a journal for a reason. So in the second one, they set out to go find it.
Does Tom actually want answers?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, he looks up at the stars wondering where his dad came from, right?
I know.
He wants to know.
Is he afraid of finding out these answers?
Maybe, because his mom was very cryptic. Your dad left, but he loved us. Well, if he loved us, then why did he go, right?
Then why did he go? Yeah.
Contradicting herself. And so in the second one, by the way, there's a secondary character that's introduced in the second book. His name's Joaquin. He is the best character.
I was going to ask you about Joaquin, because when I looked at the cover,
blurb you read on the
yes, I read the blurb on that, and I was like, "What is it? Are we Joaquin? Okay, tell me about Joaquin. Am I going to like Joaquin?"
Yes. So because you guys read a little bit from the second book on your podcast,
yes,
and it was from this one. It was describing him, and he's a blabbermouth, and he won't shut up. He's a talkative, annoying guy, but he's also super cool and friendly. But that's how he finds his way around. He has a story for everything, and they meet him telling stories in a bar, and then they're like, well, we need a scout, somebody who can navigate Arizona. He goes, well, I know all about Arizona, I'll go with you. And he kind of gets looped into the whole quest. And, you'll find out in the second book, he's like, we'll pay you for whatever. He goes, no, I just want a good story when we're done. He's a storyteller, and he really took a lot of the flaws in the first book and just wiped it out of the way, right? Because he helped move the story forward just by telling stories about things. It was a great plot device, and I love him. He has a name for his gun. It's called La Señora. He's Hispanic. He has a name for his gun. He's been married and like 3 times, and they've all left for one reason or another or died, and he's this lonely guy, but he's a really good scout, and he's very talkative. And he also helps with the dialogue, right? So when sometimes we struggle with, how do I move the story along, or how do I have somebody talk about something without answering their own question? Well, Blue Thom can talk about something, and he and Rose can talk about something, and he can interject with a simple question, because he's learning about the story. Well, what about this? And then they can respond, and now I've moved the plot forward, right? He's the best character in the book. I really like him the most. I'm
guessing that's why I remember Joaquin's name, because we were talking about it we were reading from your book, and I was like, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, he he talks so much that I think what the tail and the trail are inseparable. I think is how it was worded. But so anyway, they go out and they go find, just to reel back in the second one, they're going to find more of these caches. Well, they also learn more about the government organization that's in the end of the first one, right? They want what's in there too, but they couldn't open them, right? They had to wait for Blue Thom to come along and open the chest and figure out what was in there. Well, now they know he can, and now they're traveling and going around looking for other ones, and they're like, well, we got to catch up with this guy. So they have to deal with them in the second book as well. But they also deal with, and I think it talks about this in the back, there's somebody else that's hitting the caches as well. A couple of them that were empty before they got there. And they're like, well, how the hell is that possible? Because they weren't able to get into that one. And so who's getting to these other ones? And that's where the third book comes into play. It's like, oh, there's another character at play here. There's another good guy, I guess. I don't want to give that away. I mean, but there's another person that is kind of after the same thing. And so the third one is, okay, we dealt with this person in book 2 a little bit on and off. It was planted throughout the book on purpose. And so book 3 is like, okay, well, we're all trying to reach this keystone goal. And they do kind of converge on it. And so they have to figure out, like, who is this person? Are they good? Are they bad? What do they want? Maybe we're after the same thing. Maybe we're not. And then the fourth and the fifth one could be one big, long, fatty book. But I found enough conflict to insert in the first half of what would have been the last book. So I was like, okay, well, that's just going to be its own book to gear up towards the fifth one, which is a final confrontation with particularly this government organization. They're in the first book a little bit. They're in the second book a little bit. They're chasing him in every book. They're as kind of a nuisance, but it capitulates at the end of 4 leading into the fifth one, which is just kind of this final showdown, if you will. I'm excited to write it. I actually,
I can tell.
I used to like editing, but now I'm just like, be done so I can go write the next one and just put it all to bed.
I hate editing. I hate editing so much.
So when I wrote when I wrote a lot of the answers, it's like chapter, I don't know, 24 or something like that in the third book. Once it started flowing, when they reached the keystone, because I don't think it's a spoiler to assume that they did. When I started writing that scene out, it was just like it was straight catharsis. It was like, done. I felt really good about it. And then when I went back to edit it, when I was reading that chapter over again, like this is one of the scenes where I started to well up again. I was like, okay, I like that. I like how that turned out. So that's what you want a book, is to make you feel something, right?
It does. It does. And I actually like it when the author feels something, because then I can feel like I'm reliving their feelings through it, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, do you have daddy issues? So Tom's dad, when he abandoned, really does become like a huge piece of him. And he has this whole like being haunted by his dad's absence. Is this touching home for you? Because it made me sad.
I'd love to say no.
Without being too personal, because that just seems personal.
I'd love to say no, and I don't think my dad will ever watch this. He's still alive. But we actually did have some serious issues, like at the beginning of this year. And it was really strange. It was kind of out of the blue, and I wouldn't call it falling out, but there were some truths being told, and it was not pretty on probably both sides. I think we've reconciled quite a bit, but like it did make me wonder, especially when I was considering like that book I wrote a long time ago. Like I was thinking about this before coming on here. I was like, maybe I do have a little bit, but I don't think I do.
Okay,
but maybe. some really suppressed ones
down there deep.
No, I don't think so at its core, no, but I don't. But I don't know. It's also, maybe it was being raised on Disney, where there's always like one parent missing.
There's always a dead parent.
And so
always.
I'm sure that had something to do with it.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about reading the next one, but I do want to touch on what you sent me. So you sent me a side project that you're kind of working on, that you're beginning to work on.
Yeah, and I don't have a way to show that, but maybe you can blip it up in your editing or something. But I don't mind if you show it. So I love this, and I am going to sound excited about it because I am really excited about it. I had this other science fiction idea in my head. I thought, well, what if you could download your consciousness, which we're actually probably not that far off from as a society. We can read brainwaves and all that. what if you could download it, and in the future they could just regrow your body, not like in a, spit it out of a tube, like a, like in 2 minutes, like actually like grow it from a baby, maybe at an accelerated rate. And what if you could like preserve your life by signing up for some ridiculously expensive program where you download your brain, you have some preserved DNA, and then you can bring yourself back in the future. And I thought it would be cool if somebody like died and they came back in the future and they met a younger version of their grandma, or they, they were in some future that was super utopian, but I had trouble like figuring out what the conflict would be. Like, what's the if the future's perfect, like what's the story here? And I'm going to use this again because it's true. We were walking the dog. I would show her if she would come over here, but she's sleeping. We were walking the dog, and it hit me. I was like, it's a comedy. It's not a serious book. And so now my mind started racing. So for like the next 2 weeks, I was thinking, yeah, I think I know what I want to do. And it's like, he's going to wake up in the future, and he will be made by somebody. He doesn't even realize that he's preserved himself. He was an organ donor, and some shadowy organization took organ donors and downloaded their brains and got their DNA. And so he wakes up in the future. There's this guy, his name's Gary. He wakes up in the future, and they're like, hey, congratulations, here's the future, blah, blah, blah. You're really just like a baseline, so that we make all the other ones properly. We have to test the machines every once in a while, so we made you. And he's like, oh, well, that's cool, and his roommate is Abraham Lincoln. So we've got plenty of DNA, right? All you need is a strand of hair. And what happens is well, obviously they never downloaded his brain, but there's enough information about some historical figures where they can kind of like put one in there. We know 80% of what happened to him, and we just fill in the rest with, until to be roommates with Abraham Lincoln. There's an organization that parades around historical figures for like speeches at colleges and business meetings, and just he's a prop, but he's a real person. And so the conflict here is in the future, and this is just I'll just say it. We can say words here, right? Mm-hmm. You can put an E mark on your channel. Okay. In the future, a specific cryptocurrency has taken over the world. It's called Bitcoin, as opposed to Bitcoin. And it originally started out as a meme, right? Because there's a lot of meme coins today if you're into any of the cryptocurrency stuff. And there's a whole chapter in the book. Maybe I'll send it to you. Gary is in the he goes and gets coffee for the first time that he's had since he got resurrected, and he's going through a flea market, and he finds this old trophy, and that's what's on the cover. He's holding his little bowling trophy, and he's like, "Oh, this is my trophy." And the guy's like, "Well, that's impossible. The guy died like 80 years ago." He's like, "No, it's me." And so the guy's like, "Wait a minute," and he's like, "It is you." And he's like, "Wait a minute, it is you." So he's like, yeah, it's me. He's like, "You're the Gary Pell." He's like, "Well, I've never been the before, but yeah, that's me." And so he starts chasing him down the street. He's like, "Why is people chasing me?" And so he escapes. It turns out, so there's a whole chapter after that where he talks about the evolution of Bitcoin, and what it is it was a joke that some Saudi prince, got caught wearing. So it was a pump and dump. Bitcoin got pumped, and they made T-shirts and hats and blah blah blah, and they made a lot of money, and the original founders were just drunk college kids that made a lot of money and dumped it. Well, a lot of these hats and shirts made it into thrift stores, and this Saudi prince, being that thrifting is like cool every once in a while, it kind of comes and goes, right? Well, he gets caught wearing a Bitcoin hat, and so people catch on to it, and so he's like, "Well, I'll buy some too," and then this is big thing, and other princes buy it, and then celebrities buy it, and now it's this really big thing. Well, he becomes the king and makes it the reserve currency instead of like the dollar for oil. And now everybody has to use Bitcoin. It becomes it's a meme that got caught being thrifted, and it became the world currency basically. Well,
this
before Gary died,
interesting.
yeah, and that's just like a little blurb. He finds out about it after he gets chased. Well, he before he died, he set off like a little cloud miner. And so that whole 80 years, it was mining away Bitcoin. Well, it turns out he has like half of the world's fortune in a wallet that nobody has access to. And they can't just guess the password, right? Because it'll lock up permanently. It's one of the security features. Well, there's like 300 guesses you're allowed, and they're on 299. So they can't guess it again wrong, or half the world's wealth will be tied up forever in nothingness, right? And that'll collapse the entire currency. Well, he doesn't know that he knows what the password is to his wallet. So the book is about him learning what he needs to know, why people are after him. So there's a little bit, it's a little bit capery, right? First, it's like a chase in the market, and then he gets chased in the car. And one of the ongoing gags is like Abraham Lincoln and him are running around, and Abraham Lincoln was partly filled by intelligence, and it wasn't done correctly. He'll be like, "Well, take a right, 4 feet from here," and he's like, "I don't know what that is," So he misuses some of his famous quotes because the AI that put Lincoln together didn't do it a 100% job. So in the book, it's another gag that like Abraham Lincoln's always drinking tea and offering him tea, but he's really bad at making tea. Well, in reality, Abraham Lincoln actually liked coffee, but Mary Todd Lincoln liked coffee or tea. And so the AI got that backwards. So even Abraham Lincoln's like, I don't know why he always makes tea, but it's always so bad. And finally, Gary gives him coffee. He's like, try this, and he actually really likes it. So the part of the gag is him being kind of now created by the AI. There's other historical figures like Marie Curie is one of the big ones that kind of helps them along the way. So it was kind of cool to be able to pluck people out of history who are certainly like copyright proof. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Like they're fair game, right?
Yeah, fair use.
Fair use, yeah. Certainly people that are long gone are fair use. And so back to the beginning. Once I realized it was a comedy, I was like, it started formulating like the opening chapter and the opening scenes and other scenes, and I don't want to work on 2 projects at once, but I had them fully formed in my head, and so I just started putting them on paper, and so now I have a side project, and I work on that one thirdly, right? I read, write/edit, and then that side project is like third. But I'm on chapter like 16 or 17, and it'll probably be, I don't know, 30 or 40. So it's definitely coming along, but
it kind of sounds like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure meets Ready Player One.
Kind of. There's just nothing virtual about it, but yeah, it's but it was supposed to be funny, and I sent you some of it. Maybe you laughed a little bit. That's a raw, unedited version, but I mean,
yeah, I liked the first line. The first line, I was like, all right, because the first line was I actually wrote this down to make sure I could remember it. The first thought I had after discovering I was resurrected was, why me? I'm like, that is exactly what I would think if I woke up why me? I didn't like it the first time.
and later on, the title came to me, and I was like, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be called Resurrected, apparently. And I just think it's so funny and dry. And I was able to, at least as far as I've been able to write it like in my voice, how I would talk to people. In Blue Thom, I have to like put myself in like, gritty Western mode. And like, I feel like it has to be told in a certain tone. But like with this one, with my work in progress, it's just, I can just type what I'm thinking in my head, and it kind of works, Like I said, I sent you a completely unedited version, but I think it's on tone with how I talk.
Well, now having talked to you, I can say that's probably a very accurate statement.
This goofy guy.
I like it though. I think it's good. I liked the concept. When you sent me the cover, I knew immediately that it was going to be comedic. So I felt good about that. So I was thinking like a historical mystery comedy. But I showed it to my husband, and and LJ looked at it, and we all said the same thing. It would make us turn it over to see what it's about. So it does help to know that it was a bowling trophy, because I wasn't exactly sure what was.
It's so small on the picture.
It is so small, but I did love how that immediately kind of undercuts the whole idea, the seriousness factor of him waking up, being resurrected, when there's a second place bowling trophy there.
So, and then like so Abraham Lincoln is doing like a proper run, like somebody would do if they were, I don't know, super proper. And then the other guy's like out of breath, and he's like barely keeping up,
I'm that guy.
Yes, that's me too. I think I even wrote like when he was running from the guy in the market, he goes, I've never been an athletic person, but I left. I ran like a broken fridge, but because he's just out of shape. So
that's me every day.
I've had so much fun just writing that one, because it's such a different tone from these, but I feel like it's so easy to just regurgitate, or not regurgitate, just gurgitate that book. It just
regurgitate it.
It just comes out and it's so smooth flowing. I wish I could just pause everything and do that one, but I don't. I really want to finish this because I've also enjoyed it in just a different way.
Yeah, see, I have the problem. I'm working on two books besides the ones that I get paid to write. I'm working on two myself, one with LJ and then one for my current book. But really and truly, I have one that I really want to be working on. And then I had a title in my head and everything. And then I saw it like in a bookstore in big letters. And I was like, okay, new title. We'll figure out another one.
I have researched a little bit to make sure. Although that is allowed, you can reuse a
I
title.
know, but I mean, I think it was just a sign from the universe being like, "Don't use this." I mean, I literally just turned and there it was. I was like, "Okay, okay," and I was just thinking about it. I really like the idea of urban fantasy, and I really want to write something chaotic and fun and not so serious because right now all of my stuff is so serious, and I'd like to be able, even though I like to write a lot of comedic beats into what I'm writing. I mean, I spent half my time promoting my book as a romantic comedy and come to find out that I was wrong. That it's,
now you have to send it to me because I gotta see how wrong you were.
I got a lot of, I mean, it's got romance and it's got comedy, but it's not a romantic comedy. And I was like, oh, too late. I already published it that way.
When you say romantic comedy, I think of a movie that somebody might call a rom-com. Like, is it like that? Is that what it's like?
I guess that's what I thought it was like, but then it gets really heavy at certain points. So the comedy was kind of not there, even though to me, I still thought it was funny. I thought how it was handled was funny, but no, it gets really like, it's like you're ha ha ha.
Well, color me intrigued.
But I want to do what you're doing. I think that's great that you have an idea to just do something that is fun and interesting. And the cover is great. And what I read of it that you sent me is great. I'm not as excited about reading the next 4 books of your series because it's 4 more books. But
it's good though. The second and third one are so good. And I think
believe
the fourth one is good too. I sent it to an old coworker, the second one. He goes, I hope your ears were burning because I was saying some really mean things to you. I was like, good, that means you felt something. So, but like, it is encouraging to hear people read it because it's hard to put yourself out there. I mean, I'm not a super shy person to begin with, but being outgoing in a group of 1 or 2 or 10 people is certainly different than putting it out in front of literally anybody who wants to do it. So
anybody, yeah.
But you know what? It's out there.
So. But you've done it, and I think that's great. And I'm glad that we aren't the only ones who are struggling with spouses not reading our books and and having that imposter syndrome. And for me, it's very awkward because when someone asks me, first of all, when someone sees the cover of my book and they see me, though I don't have big, long brown hair, the girl on the cover is covered in tattoos. And
yeah, I've seen it.
And so they'll be like, And I'm like, what? And they're like, is this your story? I'm like, just mind your business. Mm-hmm. Mind your business. So I think everybody automatically is, and they're not wrong. It's very realistic to my own life, but I would like to write something that's not realistic to my own life and something that's just fun. That's hard to do.
Yeah. Well, is it though? I mean, I thought. Well, I guess it depends. I mean, I'm not you, you're not me, but like, when I started writing it in just my own voice, just whatever was coming out of my head, I actually found it really easy. So if you've got something, if in your head you've got urban fantasy and your own voice, I don't know, put a chapter or 2 out there and see how it comes out. Like,
I may do that.
Run it like 2 days, like run it out there and see what happens.
I think it's scary for me because I'm afraid that what I think is funny, someone else is not gonna think is funny.
I used to feel that way. I really did. But I guess I'm older and don't care. But also, I do in my real life, I make people laugh. I'm like, well, I must say funny things here and there, right? So put it on paper. And when my wife did read the first chapter of, well, I only sent you part of the first chapter, but I printed out the whole first chapter of Resurrected apparently for her. And she did laugh a couple times when she was reading it. So, and she will not laugh just because it's me. It had to have actually been funny, right? We're past like making each other, oh, you're just so cute just because you're. No. It was actually funny because she laughed.
I
Um,
think that's well, see, and I think that's my problem is I don't mind being, I don't care what anybody thinks about me in person. You can say whatever you want about me, but there's something about putting my work out there
yeah.
that makes
So,
me think someone be like, you should have just stuck with the genre that you started in.
oh, yeah. I guess I just don't care about that. So
And
when you say imposter syndrome, what I hear that a lot from other people, and either I don't have it or I don't understand it. Like, what? Tell me what you mean by that.
that I am not good enough. But in the moment, I am like, I'm trying to convince people that I am a good enough writer that you want to read me. But in actuality, I don't believe that.
Hmm. And this is a syndrome.
Yep.
Hmm.
It's something about having to like fake it till you make it, essentially. Um, when I had
Hmm.
I got to call it my big girl job. When I was working in my big girl job, I was terrified of knowing everything that I had to know. And I was convinced that I was going to stand up in front of people and say something stupid and make a fool out of myself. But I got up there and did it anyway. And then it turned out that I wasn't terrible at it. And then I just got better and better. But with this, because it's new and because it's personal, it's
Hmm.
hard for me to say, oh my gosh, I am so talented. You totally want to read my book.
Yeah. Okay. Talking
But you,
about yourself or talking about your book is kind of a weird thing, but
yeah,
I
but
get it.
you have to be able to give it, you want to be able to promote it to convince someone to read it. But at the same time, I'm like, I think it's good, but they may not think it's good. And if they think it sucks, I'm going to cry. And I shouldn't care, but it's just that whole idea of being pretending that you don't care when you actually do.
Mm. I will say I do have a little bit of that. I generally do care, but like not in the like ruin my day sort of way if it goes the wrong way. You know what I mean?
I'm
But
getting better at it. My imposter syndrome has significantly lowered since doing these interviews and doing that podcast because I wanted to be faceless.
oh yeah.
I didn't want
See,
anybody to
that was
see
another
my
one you
mug.
guys brought up that I was like, yeah, I guess I'll just put my face out there. I guess I don't care. I was gonna do the same thing, make it faceless.
Yeah, I didn't want
Give it a
anybody to
chance.
see this mug. I was like, nobody's gonna like that. They're all just gonna be like, what the hell? They're they're gonna be like, that girl looks funky. Would never read a book from her. Or people that knew me, like
Mm.
knew me, would be like,
So
I
like
don't know who she thinks she
LJ
is.
might have a problem like that, right? Because he's written something that's far more risque, and even though it's
Yes.
not my genre, I'm like I said, I'm still considering maybe buying it, um, just to support him, even though I know it's well outside of my interest. But I would just because you guys have been helping me too, so I think it's
I
scratch each
think
other's
you would
backs,
like it. I
band
do. I
together.
think you would like it. It's very different than not what I thought it was going to be.
See, I'm interested, and I want to see. I also kind of want to know like how self-deprecating is he being? Like, is it actually awful, or is he just like, is it this imposter syndrome
It's the
thing,
imposter
or
syndrome because it's
like,
actually good. And he was the first, when I first decided to publish, and I'd been working on this for a hot minute. And when I finally decided to publish, and I was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to do social media. And I don't want to do social media. I'd rather just gnaw off my own foot than do social media. And I
hmm
joined a group, and he was in that group. I saw his book and I was like, I mean, just read it. I don't, ugh, whatever. And then when I when I read it, I was so surprised that I liked it and was more surprised that it was written by a man. And when I reached out to him, and we've been friends for a while now. He really is just that self-deprecating. He just does not think that he has any talent. He does
I mean,
not.
is that just British
I think so. I think
or
so.
English? I never know if it's British or English,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's a British thing. But I also think he just doesn't believe in himself. But I think he's
hmm
also gaining more confidence, which is something. But it's no, that's how he actually is in real life. It's
So one thing that was like a really big confidence booster for me, um, and maybe you should look in this, or maybe he should too. I don't have a direct line to. I guess he does answer DMs. Um, I submitted my book to the library and it was a whole official process, and they, so it depends on the county. But I sent it to Sarasota County. So surprise, I live nearby there. But
Stalking alert.
Yeah, find me. It's fine. Um, they had a whole process. You fill out this paperwork, you send them a physical copy of your book, and they didn't even ask for a fee or anything. But they wanted you had to print out some reviews of what people had said. Well, that was fine because Amazon has those, thankfully. And I sent it all in, and I got it back like a week later. I was like, oh no, they rejected it. And so I opened it up, and they're like, oh no, we bought your book. We're going to shelf it on the library. Oh, we got the second one too. We noticed it was out there. I was like, okay, cool. And so I went to the library, and I got a picture with it. Somebody had checked it out, so I only got a picture with the second one. And I'm not gonna lie, I check every once in a while because I got it in that library and the next county over. I do check like every other week, like, has anybody checked it out? And they do. People, as a matter of fact, I think one of my latest Amazon reviews was probably someone that got it from the librrie. Just
I should consider that. That's actually a really good idea. It's free. People will get a chance to read it. I went on to my Ingram Spark and saw that somebody had purchased, like a store purchased my books. And I was stunned that people were not, granted, I'm not going to make anything off of that, and I don't care.
40 cents richer. Yeah.
Yep. There we go. And it was just so exciting. I think that was validating. Where I grow, like when I went to my first book signing, I sold all of my books. It was that to me, I think, was a big confidence booster. The downside is the people who you met, who read it, who never review it. Then I start wondering, oh my God, did they hate it? They just spent that money on that book and they hated it.
Nah, people are just lazy. They default to lazy. It's not you. Can't be you.
Because I am perfect. I am practically perfect in every way.
I do have a signing coming up on the 11th. It's like a month from now. I'm excited.
Where is it going to be?
It's in Arcadia, Florida, there's a bookshop there. I'm going to post about it. I need to ask the guy to make sure. I don't know why he wouldn't have a problem with this, but
I'm going to look to see where that is. I want to make sure I can
tag him and do all that stuff.
I'm going to look to see where it is.
But yeah, the Dragon's Den bookshop, I think. We went there one day. I brought paperback books, and I was like, hey, I'm a local author. We're not that far away. And I was like, hey, I was obviously much more punctual than this, but I said, these are the books I wrote. I'm interested. I mean, are you guys, maybe you'll carry a few of them or blah, blah, blah. Oh, I know what it was. Somebody told me, another local author, he's like, go reach out to these people, go meet them in person, give them your book. Maybe you'll get a signing. I was like, because somebody tipped me off to it, another local author, some Facebook group. So I did. I just went there in person. I wasn't going to call him. I do things in person. So I went in there, I shook his hand, and I gave him my books, like, here's a free one. You guys can read it, blah, blah, blah. He goes, oh, yeah, we'll just pick a day right now. I was like, okay. He goes, how about the 11th? There's a big convention in town and everything. I was like, okay, cool. We'll do it. Bring a bunch of books. And there was an author there signing that day, and they had like a big printout with, like one of those signs you'd have at a convention. And they had like little overlays on the table that hung down in the front. I was like, well, I don't have any of that stuff. He goes, no, just bring your books. It's like, okay.
I've done a couple of now, and really I do have a big banner. I don't know if I'll bring it back because it's like a animated version of me. They're like, oh, look, that's you. Oh, okay, yeah, leave me alone. I found that people would buy more if I just had the books laying out there and talk to them than having a really pretty display. They didn't care.
Did you have any like bookmarks to hand them or? Okay.
I enticed the ladies because I had jewelry.
Oh, I was like, talked about that before.
Don't you want to get these earrings? But I also had stickers that I gave out and bookmarks, and I had my official bookmarks as well.
What would you make a sticker of?
All book stuff. Bookish stuff.
Oh, not specifically your book or your cover?
No. My bookmarks are my cover, and it's got a quote on the back from the book. And then I just went and got a bunch of random bookish stickers, and people would come by and they'd be like, "Oh, how much are these? They're free. Take one." And here's my book.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. People like giveaways. They'll come to your table if you're giving stuff away. If you feed them, they will come.
Yeah. Maybe I will get some rando stickers. I'll have to get them online though, because it's not like you're going to repurpose ones at like Books A Million. They're like $10 a sticker.
Oh, honey, no. And as someone who will not, I'm so ashamed to admit this, I would never take a sponsorship from Temu. I did initially get my first stickers from Temu, and I've given them all away. Now I've bought them locally because I thought it was the more the right thing to do. But I was broke and I just bought a bunch from Temu, and those were all the ones that I gave away at the. They were like $2.50 for 200 stickers. I put them on the table. People walk by. They don't want to make eye contact, but they see stickers. And I'm
Free
like,
sticker, yeah.
don't you want some stickers? Here's my book. And then they can't tell you no.
Don't you want to talk about cowboys?
That's what you should
You know what?
do.
I have a friend who makes things like they can do T-shirts and probably stickers too. It'd be cool to have like a blue and then the Tom below it. Can you see?
And you should, yes, and you should, and just get you some sticker paper and print them.
Then I'd have to have a color printer. My printer is just like a business, like laser, spit out a bunch of black and white stuff for this. I guess I didn't really talk about this much, but the words are kind of cool too. They're supposed to be bluish.
Did you make your covers?
Yes, I definitely had help. I'm gonna just tell you right now, I did use Gemini to help me make my covers. I'm
not judging you.
I am not a digital artist. I've done I did art when I was in high school, right? But there was no digital back then. It was crayons. But I
really like your cover, so I was wondering.
Yeah, I 100% knew what I wanted it to be, and making Gemini do that is not easy. This took many hours of my life and many failures. I kept a lot of the bad ones just to show almost kind of like a paper trail, like how hard it is to actually make it do what you want. Imagine trying to get it to say, I want a gun, but I don't want any of the stuff on it, Okay, well, how do you spell that out?
Make the handle grip smooth.
Yeah. Or like in this one, there's a device in her hand.
Yeah.
See, but I tried to tell it, I'm not even kidding, 20 times. It gives up after a while too. It just keeps producing the same thing. I'm like, this is stupid. So you have to start all the way over from the beginning. And I finally said, you know what? That's good enough. But I knew the first one specifically, exactly what I wanted. I want it's called The Inheritance from Stars. And there's stars up here,
Yeah.
I wanted it to be nighttime. I wanted it to be slightly less night in the second one. I wanted it to be closer to the day in the third one. So it's very, very well thought out. And yeah, and even when it's done, I still have to go and I use GIMP and go through and clean it up, and I still change a lot about it. So yeah, but
do you worry about people saying, "Oh no, AI cover"?
No, because most of them are just like you, oh, I really liked it. There's a lady I sold some books to in a little travel trailer bookstore. She's bought I think she bought 10 and 5. She bought a bunch. She goes, "Oh, I love the cover." When she saw it in the person, I was like, that's vindicating. But even though I use Gemini to make it, to help make it, I say help because Gemini is a turd, and it is, like I said, it's really hard to get what you want. Or maybe I'm just really bad at it, which should tell you something. But no, I do and I don't. At the end of the day, the cover is just there to help you pick it up and decide you want to read it. It has to be somewhat interesting, and I feel man, there's enough mystery. This one doesn't have much mystery because it's just a dude with a gun, but you'd have to look closely to realize there's something off about it. But it's I read this one time and I was doing some research that sometimes people wanted to put almost Easter eggs on their cover. If you've read it, now you understand it. It's okay, yeah, I kind of like that idea. And so I kind of went that route, especially with this one. This isn't just a regular old tree. This is a specific tree in the book. And that species of tree, you wouldn't know that until you read it. And I tried to incorporate things like that on the covers too. So it's really well thought out. That sounds self-aggrandizing. I think about everything a lot. I know, think a lot about it. And I spent many hours of my life, I wouldn't say sweat, but certainly blood and tears trying to get it to exactly what I wanted it to be. It's not easy. So if somebody says, well, yeah, I just use AI for my cover. Yeah, sometimes it shows. Hopefully it doesn't really show.
I actually did not think that it was, so which is why I was asking, because I did not think that.
Yeah, no, I don't own it.
I would never normally actually go and call somebody out. I just thought that it was a human done. So bravo to you.
So like, so like, it's not a free service, right? Using the really nice versions of well, Gemini is what I use. So I can either pay for that, or I can pay some artist. Um, sure, there's some starving artists out there, but like, if I'm only going to pay 20 or $40, which is whatever the monthly subscription is, I'm not going to get a good cover. I'm going to get somebody from India, some 13-year-old, like it's going to be, well, who's making stuff on Fiverr? Okay. You tell me what experience you've had. Anyway, I'm gonna argue with that person over and over and try to explain what I want. Whereas I can just argue with the computer and get what I want for the same price or better. So
Yeah.
I
No,
just
I get
assume
it.
have more control over it, just like being an indie author in the first place.
Yeah,
I
I
admit,
did my cover and it was not easy, but I realized if I were going to outsource that, it would have cost so much money, and I'd
yeah,
rather it just not, because really and truly the thought of using AI didn't even occur to me when I was making my cover. I'd
mm,
probably it would look a lot better if it was.
it didn't
Um,
occur to me at first either. It didn't. I was gonna hand draw something and make it like old Western burnt paper, like a wanted poster sort of thing. That's stupid. I shot my own idea down.
I don't like my idea. That's dumb.
Oh, I've had a lot of dumb ideas, I'll tell you that.
Same.
But
Well, Cole, I have enjoyed. I've kept you for an hour and a half.
oh yeah, just about.
I've held you
Well,
hostage for an hour and a half.
doesn't even feel that way.
I know
I,
it went
I
by
won't.
really fast.
You're a pleasure to talk to. I'm so glad you're doing this, and and I hope it continues and it goes well for you. So
Oh, it will. I'll find people. I mean, people are always asking. The hard part is getting them nailed down or, having power in my house.
yeah, that helps.
I've never been more miserable in my life
Mm,
than because it was so hot and
I bet.
humid and gross. And oh, God. And I have fans that are battery operated and they lasted for a little while. But then at some point, the air just quit moving.
That is the end of it. We
It's the
have had
South, man.
hurricanes. We've had power go out for hurricanes here, and it's a hot few days for sure.
Yeah, living in this, and we thought we were prepared. We bought all of these different like charging outlets so we could keep our phone and stuff charged, and that works. But a fan will take up all of that power
Yeah.
because we have a fan in our bedroom, and when we didn't have power one night, we plugged it into that, and I was like, oh, at least we have noise. At least we have a fan. 5 minutes later, it shut off. I was like,
Mm-mm.
okay, I need a generator.
Time to go swimming in
Yeah,
your own bed in your bed.
I live in the South. I should get a generator. If there's going to be a tornado, and I live on a mountain, if the
Mm.
wind blows, our power goes. That's my saying. But Cole, you've been great. I'm gonna let you get back to your day because I know that you probably have a job and work to do, and I'm holding you hostage. But
Just a long lunch break.
long lunch, hanging out with me. But I'll put all your stuff below. I will start your second book. Rude.
Oh, if you read it, I really want to know what you think, because now that I know that you actually pay attention, I'm very interested in what you think.
I will. I begrudgingly really liked the first one. So, and I hate saying that begrudgingly because I really did, but I was like, damn it, series.
Well,
Why
they're
do I
quick
keep
reads,
liking
right?
books you know what? It was a really fast read.
The second one is longer. They're all sub 100,000 words, so they're not too bad.
It was a really, really easy read. And it flew by. So and if you're hoping to go to sleep, you're not gonna, because you're gonna stay up and keep reading it. So don't be prepared to lose sleep. And I hope the rest of your day goes well.
Well, thank you very much. Same to you.
Thank you. And I will talk to you soon.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.